Good mor Good morning, everyone. My name is Stephanie Hatch, and we are here today to talk about operating concessions with Chicago Park District. I work for UCD Associates, and we are the group that manage the concessions program for the Chicago Park District. So I'd like to begin with some introductions, and then I'll explain a little more about the program and the opportunities that we currently have with the program. So I'd like to get started by introducing my coworker that's here today. Helping me with the webinar, Tom O'Reilly. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tom O'Reilly with UCG. My title is Facility Director, and I'm happy to be here this morning. I'm glad you all are too. If it says on the screen that my name is Stephanie Hatch, that is incorrect. My name is Tom O'Reilly.
Thank you, Tom. And then I believe we do have some of our partners on the webinar today from Chicago Park District. If so, please unmute yourself and introduce. No? Okay. All right, maybe
Stephanie,
later.
I can unmute them.
Okay.
Like Dana and CJ, I was trying to make you guys panelists, which would allow you guys to speak. So if you want to speak, just raise your hand and I can unmute you.
Okay. Okay. So while we're waiting, just let me know if they do. So UCG, okay. CJ, the
Yeah.
Park District.
Hi, everybody. My name is CJ Keekins. I'm an assistant director in the Chicago Park District Department of Revenue, and I oversee the contract that UCG has with the Park District, among several other things. But thanks for having me here today. And Stephanie, Tom, thanks for doing this.
Okay, thank you. So I mentioned before that UCG Associates is the group, we're the group that manages the day-to-day operations for the Chicago Park District Concession Program. We're also the group that advertises the application, which we're currently doing. It's called a Notice of Availability or Notice of Application for the Park District. We review the submitted applicants. So when you do apply to operate or get your permit, we will review your application. We make recommendations to the Park District for the awards to say that you're awarded to actually participate at a particular park or beach. We negotiate your concessions permit agreement, and then we also provide guidance to get you started, as well as on a day-to-day basis, Thomas out in the field, just doing inspections and giving advice and helping you from day to day. So that's a little bit about what we do, and a little bit about the program. So we're all excited about the concessions program. As I mentioned before, we currently have an application, a notice of availability application out. So we're getting geared up for the 2024 season. So the goal of the concessions program is to provide great food and quality food and services that enhance the parks and the park patrons and the beaches as well. And and it's not just for the improvement of the park and the patrons itself, but our concessionaires become part of the community, part of the neighborhoods where they operate. So we strive to bring variety. We strive to bring good concepts to these locations. So a little bit about the program currently. We have approximately 200 concessionaires that operate throughout the Chicago Park District right now. So that would be on Park District property. The different concessions vary by location, by the type of operation, by size, by the sale opportunity. So there are a lot of different facets that go into the concessions program. The concessionaires are classified by, we have food and beverage, we have retail, we have different services and rentals. So, you know, the old idea of just the hot dog cart or a small kiosk or cart in a park is it's different. I mean, there are a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different units that people operate out of. The concessions also include small operations, carts, kiosks. Something that's very popular now is the restaurant or the food and beverage out of a container. So I would say within the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of concessionaires operate out of containers, which is a little more stable than maybe a cart that you would move around. But the park district definitely welcomes different concepts and interesting ideas that, you know, might have been something that people wouldn't really relate to a park district concession. One that comes to mind for me, we have a current concessionaire that proposed doing winter bike sports for the winter season, for the off season. So you see snow bikes, and that's just something a little different. So the food and beverage operation is what people mostly think of when they think of park district concessions is food. And they range from fine dining restaurants. So we have restaurants we have a restaurant in the program with a 5-star chef, to cafes, grab and go concepts. And they operate out of the park district buildings. So there are beach houses and buildings that are on park district property where some of our restaurants and food and beverage operate out of, to concessionaires that might have their own trailer that they would operate out of on park district property, kiosks that you see, or carts that move around as well, and then the containers that I talked about before. Some different ideas with the service concessionaires, they vary from bike rentals to Segway rentals. We also have a couple concessionaires that are focused on health and wellness, which is definitely the trend. So we have a massage concessionaire. Last season, for the first time, we had facial waxing concessionaire that did a table and tent kiosk. So just a lot of different things. For maintenance services, some examples would be rental of beach chairs and umbrellas, water equipment rentals, and that varies from jet ski rental, kayak, and the rental of stand-up paddle boards. So as far as the program and when it starts, I guess the season, a concessionaire could operate year-round, but the expected season or the minimal time is from the Friday before Memorial Day to at least through Labor Day. So that's the official season. And generally, the concessionaire, you can operate Monday through Sunday, so you can operate every day. Most people do take a day off depending on what park or beach they're located. But the park and beaches are open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. So anytime within that time span, you can propose operating depending on the traffic. So 2 programs that the park district has that are part of this concessions program that I want to mention. One is called the Focus Area Parks. And the Focus Community Area Parks is a pilot program that the park district started that was aimed to stimulate business and provide amenities in selected parks. And these selected parks are located in the central, west, and south regions of the city. So this program was started to really bring more business and amenities to locations in the city that typically did not have these type of concessionaires or the type of businesses in this area. And if you do look at a park in one of these locations, that's part of a list that we have that are called focus parks. And most times, if you do decide to operate in one of these parks, the fees that are charged by our program are either reduced or eliminated depending on the park and, depending on exactly what fee we're talking about within that program. The other program that the Park District is involved in, that was a pilot program, is the Good Food Program or Good Food Purchasing Program. And the goal of this program is to incorporate good food purchasing practices into our concession program. And so it's important to make good food available to everyone. So the Good Food Purchasing Standard was based on 5 values that are part of the program. And so the first one is local economies. So as part of this program, we stress buying local. The next one is environmental sustainability. And as a concessionaire in our program, you're expected to be a good steward of your environment. You're expected to be conscious of the litter and waste control and recycling of materials. The third value is to value workforce. And obviously we stress, valuing your employees, treating them fairly, and definitely, keeping them happy with the job and positive. Whenever applicable, ensuring the humane treatment of animals, if that's, part of something that you're involved in. And then finally, nutrition, offering healthy food items, like I said, at every location. So it's available no matter what part of the city that you're in. So this slide right here is just kind of a visual to give you an idea of some of the concessions that are in our program and the units that they operate out of. So in this slide, you'll see we have an example of a container concessionaire, and this is a restaurant. We have a trailer, and then we have a kiosk. This is another slide to give you an example. These are our water sports that I was talking about, water recreation. You have the jet ski, and then you have something kind of cool with the paddle boards or paddle boats, and they're in the shape of swans. So just fun, little festive. Okay, so currently, we have a notice of availability out, which is our application process for the following season, for 2024 season. And so we start advertising this on October 16th. We've advertised in the newspaper. We've reached out to alderman offices and to City of Chicago assist organizations. We're advertising this information right now in this webinar. We've also reached out to the Illinois Restaurant Association and asked them to put it in their newsletter. So we're trying to get the word out to everyone we know that we currently have our process open. We're accepting applications. The application due date is November 21st. So we're asking that we get as many applications in by the 21st. The process will still be open. You can still submit applications, but that is actually the due date that is considered on time. We're starting with the interviewing process. And so we're asking that we get most of them in by November 21st. But again, the site will not close and you will still be able to apply. But to have them in on time, November 21st, 2023, right before Thanksgiving is the date. From there, we have a process where we evaluate the applications. We bring people in for interviews. Sometimes we need additional information depending on if the application is complete or not. And so it takes us until February to really go through the process, to look at the applications and to discuss them. At that time, we do a presentation to the Park District on the information that we've gathered, the recommendations that we have made as far as concessionaires and what park we think would be a great place for them to operate, park or beach, lakefront. And then we have more discussion with the Park District, and then the Park District makes a decision from there. And then, like I mentioned before, we want everybody ready to open and operate by the Friday before Memorial Day weekend. And for next year, that would be May 24th, 2024. Okay, so when you submit your application, what are the criteria? What are we looking for with all the applications? So obviously, I think I mentioned before, creativity, quality, something innovative as far as your concept is concerned and what you propose. The park that you select or the beach that you want to operate at, will it enhance that environment? Is it something that we feel like is good for that particular park or the neighborhood? Consistency with planned uses of proposed locations. When you go to our site, you'll see that there's a column that says this is for food or beverage, this is for retail or water recreation. So we give you an idea when you look at the available list of what would be best or what is needed in that particular location or that particular park. And obviously you can propose something different, but we need to have some synergy and a match. Consistency with the goals of the concessions program and our plan. How the concession adds to the diversity of the Park District concessions activity and the concessions program. And then if the concessions is environmentally conscious and uses sustainable methods. So it's important to us that you as a concessionaire are aware of, the environment and the park. I mean, you're outside. We just want to make sure that you're aware of what's important to the Park District. Okay, so as part of the notice of availability or application that we have out right now, we have five or six locations that we focused. And so they're outlined in the application. Although we do have a long list of available areas, we have some that are focused and we have pictures and we talk a little bit more about them. So I'm going to go through some of them, myself and Tom, and kind of mention and highlight the ones that we have featured from this notice of application right now. And the first one is a area that for the first time last year, we tried a pop-up program. And the area is called Grant Park Plaza Garden North and South. And if you're driving down Michigan Avenue, this would be where Michigan and Ida B. Wells crosses. So it's two harp-shaped areas that are adorned by planters. So if you go by there and you see these huge planters and these huge, flower beds, then you're at the right place. There's a north and south, and Ida B. Wells crosses the north and south. So this area is located across from businesses and hotels, and there are actually some schools as well. I believe Roosevelt University and Columbia are also across from this area. And so this would be a program where it would last a couple weeks. Last year, we ran it for about 3 weeks. We did find that it seemed to be busier on the weekend than the weekdays or in the evening when people got off work. So pop-up areas are kind of popular, and we're just testing it out and seeing how it goes. So we'd like to do it again this year. And it's available for summer or winter, but like I said, last year when we tested it, we did the summer, and it was I believe the last 3 weeks in August for that location. So that's available you can apply for that. And then Tom?
Okay, one of our featured locations is far south, pretty much where 95th Street runs into the lake. It's called Calumet Park, and Calumet Park does have a lovely beach within its boundaries. So as you can see here, the picture is of the beach house that has public restrooms, lifeguard station. And as you're looking at the photo on your right, that is the space for the current concession stand there. This location is available for operation. Some of the, obviously being right on the lake and right at the beach is a plus for this space. Behind the building, you can't see it, but it is a very large parking lot that, there's quite a bit of value in being able to have a space where people, customers can come and park and visit you. So that's a huge plus for this location. Also, this location is known as being liquor eligible. The quick version of explanation of this is that not every location on the lakefront can serve liquor. There is a city ordinance that specifies which locations can sell liquor. Calumet Beach is on that list. So this is available for someone to serve liquor from should they get the proper licensing for it. So that's another plus for this location. We have not sold liquor at this space before. This would be a first. We're hoping we can find somebody who's interested in taking this space, enhancing it, and increasing the menu and serving liquor from this place. It's a very exciting opportunity.
Okay.
Next place to speak on is the museum campus concession building is located between the Field Museum and the Shed Aquarium. The biggest, obviously, this particular location is the biggest asset for this opportunity. It's one of the biggest tourist attraction spaces in the city. The museum campus, if you don't know, is also located right next to Soldier Field. So events going on there. A lot of people traveling through this area to get to Soldier Field. So this is a large, long building that we are going to divide into 2 different concession spaces, each having 4 large concession windows. And the traffic and the people that go there is the plus for this. And it's a wonderful opportunity. Hopefully it'll interest some of the folks listening today. Loyola Beach is very north, close to Loyola campus. Again, as you would guess, it is right on the lake. It is a bit of a smaller beach. This has a very neighborhood feel to it. And the neighborhood loves this place. They're very loyal to this particular beach. And the building itself is small. It's unlike the beach house at Calumet. It does not come with a lifeguard station or a restroom connected to it. You can see in the photo, it's a small, kind of cozy, quaint concession stand. And it seems if you can create the neighborhood feel to this with a little acoustic music, you got a good thing going there. The neighborhood will appreciate you. So a little work might be needed on it, but again, a wonderful, nice little beach location for a concession stand.
Okay. So our next featured location is Grant Park South End. So this is the very south end of Grant Park. So it's bound by Michigan Avenue, Roosevelt, Balboa, and Lakeshore Drive. So this is a great family location in the South Loop area, alongside the path of Soldier Field and the museum campus. So a lot of people that come down for events and take the train or take some type of public transportation would pass by this park area. I think most people know it. If you're familiar with Chicago and you're driving downtown, you pass by, you see the Agora sculptural installation. So those are the statues of the half people or half men, the leg parts, the legs. And there's a 3-acre skate park that's adjacent to the area, as well as a performance space. And all this is located on the southwest corner there on Grant Park. So again, I mentioned that this park is heavily visited by South Loop residents, running, biking, family, bringing the family to the park, as well as college students. I believe Columbia University might be right across, so it's pretty close. and tourists and people that are coming downtown and walking Michigan Avenue. But again, especially those that are coming downtown for events at Soldier Field and Museum Campus. I know recently they've had a couple concerts at Soldier Field when Taylor Swift and Beyonce and a lot of people were here. I mean, the area was just so busy because people take public transportation downtown for those events, and they pass by this corner. And then finally, we'd like to feature and mention Grant Park Spirit of Music Garden. Some people know it as Summerfest, Summer Dance Fest. And so this is also located on Michigan Avenue, where Michigan Avenue and Harrison cross. It's a highly visible corner, and you notice the area when they have these events because a stage is set up and a dance floor. And so then the city hosts occasional summer music festivals in this area in the park. And so this is a great place, a social dance party that brings a mix of people together because the music is different, it's diverse. I mean, it's not always the same type of music. They go from salsa to house to different activities, and people come down for, I believe it's on the weekend, and to dance and enjoy the music. And so there's a patch of concrete or an area right where the summer dance is for, actually, we're thinking a food truck would be great. And there's an example of one here on the slide at the bottom. And there's also some additional area that's around the food truck, not much, but a small patch for tables and chairs. So you could technically create your own dining space surrounding your food truck during the summer dance or the Spirit of Music Garden event. Okay, so now we're going to take some time and go through the questions that most people ask when talking about operating a concessions on park property with the park district. And so this is really the important part. Tom is going to take us through what we call frequently asked questions. And I think a lot of your questions will probably be answered during this section.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. When you take a look and start working on an application to operate a business on park property, one of the pages is called the available locations page. So it'll list a number of locations in the Chicago Park District that are available for business operations. Generally, that list consists of locations where we have last year or relatively recently had a business operating there. That list does not cover all the parks in the city that may be available for operations. So what if you would like to operate a concession from a location that is not included in the list of available locations? Or what if by the location you're looking at on the list, we're listing a type of business, but you're thinking of a different type of business than that's what's listed? What if that's the case? Well, our answer to that would be that we are open to considering any idea that you might have at any park location that you would like. We're open for your suggestions and ideas, and our best advice to you when you're filling out the location piece of the application as to where you want to operate or where you'd like to operate it, put down what you'd like to do. We're interested in knowing what your ideas are and what your first priority might be, your second priority. It's an important part of filling out the application. So can you submit your application for more than one location? Well, you can do that. There's no rule against, there's no rule that says you can only have one business on park property. I would prioritize your locations, but then someplace in the application, make sure that you say, we're interested actually in more than one location. And, we'd like to have two, and we've indicated in our first and second priority that this is where we'd like to operate. So yeah, you can definitely you can definitely apply for more than one location. So what if you really don't have a specific park in mind? You don't really know where you want to go exactly. I would advise that you can literally say that. I don't know, I'm completely open to where I might go. But if you can, try and drill down at least somehow on where you might want to be. It might be, I'd like to operate in the south region of the city, central region, north region, lakefront. Do what you can to identify to some extent where you'd like to be if you don't have specific parks in mind. Help us out so that as we're looking at this application, we get an idea of what you want to do and somewhat where you'd like to do it if you can't be specific. All right, really probably one of the main things people have in mind when they're looking at operating in the parks might be, well, what is this going to cost me? What are the fees? What are the costs for that? So we're going to go over that now. Some aren't, some will be in general. The idea is to give you in general what you should anticipate and plan for if you're thinking of operating on a business on park property. We'll tackle the main fee I think everyone has in mind, which would be the base fee or the rent you would pay to the park district for operating your business on park property. There's two parts of the rent. The first one, perhaps the main one, is what we call the base fee. And that's going to be the rent you pay the park district for sure. It's a specified amount that you're going to agree to pay in an agreement you sign with the Chicago Park District. Now, how much that rent is going to be based on a couple things. One is your location. Where are you going to operate? Obviously, some locations have an ability to generate more revenue than others. So that we definitely take into consideration. Another might be, what are you operating out of? A small cart certainly probably would generate or have the ability to generate less revenue than if you're operating in a business that has a kitchen inside it. So, what you're operating out of, where you're operating, and then we take a look at the history of the location. If we have data on what your interested location generally does business wise, that's gonna give us a road to what type of rent we would ask for at that location. If it's a park where we haven't had anybody for a while, we don't really have any data on it, then we're going to have to use our best judgment as to considering what type of business and what you're operating out of, what we think you can do revenue wise at that location. And that'll be a discussion we have with you. We don't unilaterally decide that. We're going to talk about it together and come to a conclusion on that. So the thing we use the most, our most common template, is once we've determined what we think you can do revenue wise at a location, we're going to take 15% of that, and that is going to be your base fee. And let me just give an example, and I'll use numbers that's easy for me to figure out here. Okay, so let's say that we think you could do $100,000 at a certain location in sales during the year. Well, 15% of that would be $15,000. That would be your base fee. When it comes to the base fee, if you're a new operator with us, when you sign your agreement before the season starts, you're going to only have to put up $250 of your rent on that day. The balance of the rent then gets divided into two payments. One would be June 15, and the second would be July 15. So I think something that really helps new operators in this program is the fact that they don't have to put a lot of their rent down immediately. You're going to get probably a good month of operating before that first base fee rent payment is due. So that's the base fee segment of the rent. The next is called the revenue share percentage or breakpoint percentage. So in my illustration or example that we figured at a certain location you could do 100,000 and your base fee is 15,000. Your break point is 100,000. That's what we think you can do at that location. If you have a nice year and you sell 110,000 in sales that year, you've gone over your 100,000 break point by 10,000. And your break point percentage fee you'll pay is 15% on the 10,000 you went over. So that would be something that would be, invoiced to you as you're going on in the season and you go over the break point, which everyone should aspire to do for sure. That means you're doing well and making more money yourself. That break point gets collected as you achieve those sales numbers throughout the year. That's the rent portion of fees. Another grouping of fees that you should prepare for is that the day when we've selected you as a vendor and you come in to sign your agreement, it is a day where fees are due at contract signing. One would be a license fee. So your license to operate in the park district for food and beverage vendors is $150 for the season. If you're doing some retail or non-food and beverage, your license is $100 for the season. There's also something we call the promotion fee. The promotion fee for smaller vendors would be $40. For larger vendors would be $75. And these monies go into a fund where we promote, in general, business on park properties. Come visit business on park properties, through social media, website advertising. That's where that money's go into. For first-time operators in our program, in the first year, you're going to be asked to put down a security deposit of $400. We do call that the performance deposit fee. And so you'll have to come up with the $400 on contract signing day, which we hold. It's like a security deposit. So let's say hypothetically you're operating in the park for 5 years, and then for whatever reason you decide you're through operating there. If you've caused no damage on the park property that you operate on and you don't owe any money, you'll get your $400 back at that time. Another fee pertains to people in the food and beverage business. We will minimally inspect you one time during the season, and we are collecting a fee for an inspection from a professional inspector once during this season. It depends on what you're operating out of, a degree of difficulty in the inspection. Carts have been $75 for the inspection. Trailers, kiosks, containers, $100 per inspection. And then the buildings, the bigger operations, would be $150. That fee is due at contract signing. And I will say, full disclosure, that would be the one fee that we may have to, we haven't raised that fee in a long time. The costs of that are rising. It may go up, but for now, for planning purposes, the fees I described is what you should be thinking about. There's also utility fees. So utilities would include garbage pickup, power, and water. Not everybody has those. Most people have garbage, and that's going to cost you $50 for the season. If you have power also, and you're connected to Park District Power, you're going to pay a little more. Usually the top end fees you pay for the whole season with power and water and garbage would be $800 for the season. And that is due at contract signing day, and it all depends on what you're actually going to be consuming. If you have a cart in the park and you're selling hot dogs and things, there's going to be some garbage you're going to produce. You'll pay that fee. But if you aren't plugged in or plumbed in, you'll have no water or power fees to pay at this time. A couple fees now, another category, are things that you've got to do on your own, but have ready for at contract signing day. You're going to have to get liability insurance. So you're going to have to find your an insurance professional and purchase insurance from them. You're going to need at least $1 million per occurrence and $2 million in the aggregate. There's also some language that we would give you that would that you have to have on your certificate of insurance to put the Park District and UCG as additional insureds. we do have a sheet that will give you that you can give to your insurance professional. Here's what I need. It's nothing different or out of the ordinary. It's pretty basic requests, and the insurance guy will be able to do that. We need to have that certificate of insurance before you get your license to operate here, and we ask for it on at least by contract signing day. Okay, another if you're doing food and beverage, you're going to need to have some sanitation certificates. So at least 2 of your persons that will be operating day to day at your place are going to need to have a certificate that states that they passed a class that teaches you sanitation practices in the food and beverage operation. So you're going to need to that's going to cost you money to sign up for these classes. There's a number of places you do that. City colleges, for example, the Restaurant Association holds classes. We're going to have to see that you've got a couple folks who have passed those classes and provide a copy of those certificates at contract signing day. And that's going to be a cost, those classes that you need to anticipate. So those are the fees and the things we're going to need as you come in and sign your agreement with us. Of course, you have to keep in mind other expenses you're going to have to operate businesses: labor, cost of goods sold, equipment, things of that nature. Obviously plan for that. You'll be paying sales tax on this, your insurance, things of that nature. Remember all those things as you're considering the costs involved in operating the business. Okay. One piece of advice too. I mean, some people ask us, hey, I don't have this agreement signed yet, but I'd like to start buying equipment and things of that nature. We suggest you don't do that you don't spend money like this until you know that you're going to be awarded a location and an agreement will be signed. So don't go out buying, tables, chairs, stoves, carts, all these things we advise until you know you have the gig with us. Okay. Don't jump the gun on that. All right. If my concession involves the sale of food and beverages, what are the health and sanitation requirements? Well, we did go over that a bit. You're going to need to have those sanitation certificates. So you're going to need to have people who know the proper sanitation practices to operate your business. And we would expect that those folks would spread that knowledge to other employees, so everybody is educated on what you need to do to run that the right way. Those are our health and sanitation requirements for food and beverage operators. What licenses, certificates, and permits are required to operate a concession? You're going to need a Chicago Park District retail and food license. You get it from us when you sign your agreement and pay all your fees. It's a sticker that you'll have on site. Needs to be, you need to show it to people. It needs to be visual so you can see it as you're walking up to your business. So that is the sticker that you're going to need, the license you're going to need to operate on park property. If you have a business, a different type of business, let's say a water sport business, there are certainly certificates within that industry that you're going to need to operate such a business, and you'll have to make sure you have all those like lifeguard certifications and things of that nature. We would expect, actually, if you're proposing to operate such a business, that you're going to be familiar with the types of things you're going to need to operate those. Okay. What are requirements to sell liquor? So there is a ordinance, a city ordinance called the Lakefront Liquor Ordinance. So if you desire to sell liquor in a business along the lakefront, your location is going to have to be specified on that ordinance. So that is a primary consideration for your business on the lakefront. If you need to have liquor as part of your business, you're going to have to make sure it is a location on that ordinance. the requirements for those would be, you're gonna have to go through if you're chosen to operate there, you're gonna have to go through the regular city and state licensing requirements to be able to sell liquor, to get your liquor license. If you are not proposing operating on the lakefront and desire to sell liquor, there is no ordinance that gets in the way of that. However, we would consider your proposal. If UCG feels like this is something that's a good idea, we would recommend it to the Park District. The Park District would have to approve that, but you'd also have to make sure that you have aldermanic and police district approval as well before you would proceed. So you have to get those folks on board with your ability to sell liquor. Once you have all those approvals, then you'll have to go through the city and the state to apply to get your license to operate and sell liquor on these park properties. Okay. Am I responsible for maintenance and repairs of your concession facility? Well, certainly if you own your trailer, your container, your cart, of course you are. You're going to have to maintain and repair those concession facilities. If you're operating out of a park district building or kiosk or what have you, you are still responsible for maintaining and repairing those facilities. So keep in mind, things that go wrong, ceiling tiles fall, break, water heater goes out, a floor needs some help. You're responsible for taking care of that facility once you've signed the agreement. There's a clause in the agreement that we feel we need to mention. It's called the as-is clause. And when you're awarded operating in one of these facilities, you take it as is, and if there needs to be some maintenance on these, that is incumbent upon yourself, your business, to take care of it. The application will list all the numbers of different things that could possibly be included in there. Again, I mentioned floors, floor coverings, hot water heaters is something that could go wrong, but general maintenance is usually what you're doing. Changing of the light bulbs, again, a ceiling tile may come down, things of that nature. You're going to have to maintain that area. Are you responsible for custodial services at your concession facility? Of course you are. Regardless of it, you're responsible for keeping the place clean, and not only the building or the trailer itself, but the general area around your space. Garbage laying around, clean it up. You want the place to look nice, and you're responsible for about 100 feet around your space. Needs to be tidy, needs to be cleaned up. Somebody spills something, you got to clean it up. Keep your space clean. So yes, you do have custodial service responsibilities. Can you undertake capital improvements? Well, a lot of times we'll get applications. Yes, they have that very thing in mind. They've got an idea. They'd like to improve the place. Here's their plan. Here's how much they think it would cost. Can they do that? Well, UCG would take that under consideration. If we like the idea, we would go to the Park District, recommend it. If the Park District says, yes, we like this idea, this capital improvement, we would accept. It would be the proposer's responsibility for paying for those improvements. But then we have a process you'll need to go through. It's called the access permit process, where your contractor who would be doing the work would basically submit to the Park District Planning Department, here's how we're going to do this. This is the work, the technical work needed to build this deck, to build a new floor, to add an addition to this building. Whatever it is you're proposing, here's how we're going to do it. And the Chicago Park District Planning Department would review that, and you would have to get their approval before moving forward. And that approval would be you would receive an access permit to move forward with your project. So you are going to have to go through that. It does take some time to receive the access permit. They look over it pretty carefully, pretty thoroughly. There's a number of departments that have to sign off on it. So anticipate there'll be some time involved in getting it. But, you know, when it's all said and done, the type of work you're doing and how you're doing it should be the safe and best way and meet code. And then you can proceed forward. Does the park district have any agreements that may impact my concession? Well, they do. They have some sponsorships with some companies, food and beverage companies, that food and beverage folks are going to have to adhere to. The biggest one would be for beverages. So the park district has a sponsorship with Coca-Cola. So folks, vendors who serve beverages that Coca-Cola sells, and are Coca-Cola type products, you're going to have to use Coke. So colas, Sprite, the Fanta line, bottled water is Dasani, Minute Maid lemonade. So beverages need to be purchased through Coca-Cola, and we will give you information on actually who to call, where to call to purchase beverage products. If you have a beverage product that is unique that Coca-Cola may not be selling, you'll more than likely be able to do that. It'll be a discussion. We'll have to have a discussion, but if Coke doesn't sell it, you should be able to sell that beverage. But otherwise, it's Coca-Cola. That's the product you're going to have. Another sponsorship is with hot dogs and Polish sausage, and that is through Vienna. So if your business plans on selling hot dogs and Polish sausage, you're going to have to buy the Vienna brand. The third sponsorship is ice cream products. And Unilever is our sponsor. And Unilever is a huge company. It sells a number of different ice cream products, Good Humor, novelty items, to Ben & Jerry's, high-end ice cream, a lot of products, ice cream like Breyers that might fit in the middle of that category. They've got a lot of different products. They have the sponsorship. You purchase their products through Joe and Ross distributors, which again, we would give you their information, and that's where you'd buy your ice cream. So you are agreeing when you sign the agreement with the park district to carry these products, those specific brands, if you carry those products. So it's something that you need to know in advance. Okay, Stephanie, I think that covers a lot of the frequently asked questions.
Okay, and then we'll go over the questions that we have at the end. It's just a couple more slides. I just wanted to give everybody a visual of if you go to the site, what you'll see as far as the application process and submitting your application. The site is parkconcessions.com. And when you go to the site, you'll see the information is on the screen now. There's a place that says apply online. So the applications must be done online. If you need assistance, you can contact our office. The information is on the site and will help you, but we do not accept paper applications. So if you look on the screen now, there are 3 different categories for the applications. If you're a smaller cart and you just want to operate in a park with, just a simple concept, and you think it's going to do maybe about $20,000 or less, that's the first screen, and you would go into the application to fill it out, and it's just basic information that we require. But please do your best to fill out all the information. If you are applying for a location that potentially could do between $20,000 and $200,000, then it's the second column you would go to. And so you would fill out an application, and then you would also fill out a financial worksheet. And that's just something that is projected, what you think you would do. When you look at the worksheet, we'd ask for if there's an investment that you think you'd have to make in the property, information on what you think you could do in sales based on the product that you're selling, and just some projections to kind of help us get an idea of what it takes to operate your business. And then for our larger locations that potentially you think maybe like a museum campus that I could do over 200,000, we would ask you to go to the third column, which is the application plus another financial worksheet that's a little more involved. The other thing you see on the screen, next to where it says apply online, you can view the list of available locations. So the locations that Tom talked about are listed there, as well as the future locations that we went over today. If there's a park or a lakefront location that you do not see on the application, Tom mentioned, please reach out or just put something general like South Region, North Region, etc. So we get an idea of what you're looking for. And you can always ask us about a park. And then finally in the corner, we had some pre-submittal informational meetings like we're doing today, and we recorded it on there, so you can always go back, and we also have recorded previous years, and just take a look at them just to get some additional information. But again, if you go to our site, you have a question about the application, please don't hesitate to reach out. The one thing I will share with you when doing the application, the more information, the better. Please fill out as much information as you have that at your fingertips before you submit the application. And the more visuals, if you have operated, if you have a restaurant, if you've operated in farmers markets or at other places, if you have pictures, menus, please upload and give us that information, because that helps us in determining, in making the determination on awards. And then finally, this is the end of our planned presentation. At this time, we are open for questions. So, let's see. I guess I'll go to the question screen. It looks like we got about 5 questions.
Are you in the chat box or the Q&A box?
I'm in the Q&A box. Is that the correct box?
Yeah, you have look like you have one in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a few in the chat box as well.
Okay, so I need your help on the first question. It says, how can we get credit for the webinar?
You get credit for today's webinar by logging on to chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Again, that's chicago.gov/BACP certificate.
Thank you. The next question is, will you please touch on the interview process once the application is submitted? Absolutely. So once your application is submitted, we will reach out to you and set up an interview. We really like to do the interviews in person. It seems like it's easier. The communication flows better, but we do understand, especially post-COVID, that some people are traveling or don't feel comfortable. So we do them via Zoom as well. So we set up an interview and have you come in. The interviews usually last, I would say, about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. We open the floor for you to ask questions. We like to start the interview with you giving us kind of an overview on your business, your operation, and what you see as your vision. And then it's interactive. We have a set of questions that we do ask. And then again, we'll give this information that we gave today. Most people would like additional questions on the cost and the fees. And so Tom goes through that as well. So at that time, at the interview, a lot of times if you have a deck or you have information from your social media, or we ask that you bring as much information as possible, so it helps us with the determination process. What is the process to obtain a liquor license? I believe that was answered by Tom. I don't know if we need to reiterate on anything with that, but I guess if we have any other additional questions about the liquor license process, please reach out to us in our office. We can definitely help you and answer those questions. I think Tom mentioned that obviously when you're away from the lakefront and lakefront ordinance, if you are interested in a park or a location, that's not part of this ordinance. And you would definitely have to get the interaction and the agreement from the alderman and from the police commander, and then the park district would also chime in. So it's definitely a couple different avenues, and we can give you information on that. So no on a mobile coffee shop. Oh, I mean, we are definitely open to a mobile coffee shop. We have had other people that have presented that concept in the past. So no, we're open to a mobile coffee shop. That's definitely a great concept. Again, I think Tom talked about the utilities part. Most people come and they have to present or have different ideas on how they would, you know, if they need power for this or how it's set up. But no, we're open to all ideas.
Yeah, the thing about mobile vendors is that we would have to make sure that it's structured so that you are not setting up right alongside existing established vendors. You'd have to, you know, we have to talk about what is the low, what's the distance, what's your periphery for being mobile, where are you going? And we have to make sure that you are not setting up that mobile cart right next to a concession stand that already exists.
Okay. Next question. If we have our own ice cream brand that Joe and Ross distributors don't supply, could we sell that? Or are only Unilever ice cream products able to be sold at Chicago Park District? Tom, did you want to talk about that?
Well, I guess it depends on, if you make your own ice cream product, we'd have to think long and hard on that because, you know, we do have that sponsorship with Unilever. So that's, I guess I need to know a little bit more about it, but if this is a scenario where you're making your own ice cream, we may say no to that. I think we'd have to see what your whole plan is in its entirety. Is that your whole shop? Do you have other things and that's just part of your menu? We need to know that, but I would say that there's a chance we would say that we can't do that.
What kind of small business grant programs through the city are these tailored to park concessions? So I am not aware of a grant program that's tailored currently to park concessions. I know that we've been involved with grant programs in the past. 2 years ago, coming out of COVID, we had an al fresco grant program to increase the amount of outdoor tables and chairs and seating that were associated with the program and get more people outside. Last year, we did not have a grant program that was associated with the Park District concessions. And to my knowledge, we don't have one yet for 2024, but if that changes and there's some information that becomes available, that's something that we would definitely post on our website, on the Park Concessions website, and make the concessionaires or the applicants make them knowledgeable of that. So we've done it in the past. We currently do not have a grant program that we are working with. Is this seasonal or year round? It could be both. I mentioned the season is from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day, but people go past. I mean, of course, it's weather. It's kind of weather determinant. I mean, we still have concessionaires that are operating now. The weather is nice. It's 60 degrees this week. So it really depends. And then I think I mentioned when I was talking about different concepts, we have a couple concepts that come in as winter sports or, concepts that would be great during the winter time. So it really depends, but this can definitely be year round. We also have some concessionaires, some restaurants that are indoor that operate year round. One example that comes to mind is Theater on the Lake. They are part of our program, and then North Pond as well in Lincoln Park. So those are restaurants that are year round. So it would just depend. but it's optional. It could be, yes, year round. Is it possible to do an alcohol only stand near a beach? That's something that could be proposed, but again, the liquor ordinance comes into play when you're talking about the lakefront, and it would have to be a location that is eligible for liquor at a beach or lakefront area. Can you please type out where I go to get credit for this class? Someone else has asked for credit for the class, and I believe that information was given already. Get set up. Is it possible to set up an informational interview with the staff of UCG? Yes, we are in the process of interviewing now. If you had additional questions and you weren't ready to apply, but you did want to talk with us and ask questions, that's definitely possible. I have another staff member besides Tom and myself, a gentleman named Segi. A lot of people interact with him during the process and after. And so we're opened. We've been available to field questions, via telephone calls, and we've been doing that. Okay. If I want to sell Zabaha halal food, I'm sorry, I pronounced that wrong. Halal food, do I still have to use Vienna beef products? Tom, did you want to answer that?
Well, I'll assume by the question that
It's a specialty.
the specialty
Yeah,
includes hot dogs or Polish sausage or both,
yeah.
because those are the only Vienna products that are sponsored.
Mhm.
If Vienna does not sell those types of hot dogs and Polish sausage, then you would be able to use your specific brand. Hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. What is the mechanism to add locations to the lakefront ordinance?
There is no mechanism to do that.
So currently there is not. If I signed up for this course with a different email than my BACP account, can I still receive credit? I am not able to answer that.
Hold on. Yes, that is supposed to combine both of your accounts together, but if not, and you have questions, send an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Okay, go ahead, Stephanie. Next question.
Okay. Mobile churro shop, and there's a question mark again. You can propose anything. We're open. I mean, if it's something that we feel like won't work or is not appropriate, or we'll be real honest, or if it's something that we feel like, hey, that's a good idea, but you need a little tweaking, we'll share, as much knowledge as we have. So yep, I would say propose anything. Is prior business history data available for locations? Good question. Tom, did you want to take that one?
What's the question again, Stephanie?
The question is prior business history data available for locations?
Yeah, we'd be able, well, it's quite possible. If you take a look at the location list, available location, and want to know what's been the sales history with that, I think we'd be more than happy to let you know if we have it.
Yep. Okay.
I'd want to know if I were you guys. I would want to know.
Yep. Okay. So we don't have every location, but we do have some. Okay. If this is seasonal, is the rent prorated in the slower seasons?
No, the base fee portion of it is something that you'll be responsible for. So in my example, where a business did $100,000, we projected, and the rent and the base fee was 15,000, you would be responsible for that 15,000.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And I don't know if this was mentioned before by BACP, but where can we find the recording?
On our YouTube page at youtube.com/Chicago BACP.
Thank you. And then the next two, it looks like it's a thank you and they were answered. But finally, we do have one other question about the liquor ordinance. Then how does the lakefront ordinance ever get updated?
Well, I will say that it does not necessarily get updated. I think they're pretty happy with that. Honestly, it would take the Chicago Park District having a desire to increase the locations that sell liquor on the lakefront and working with the city of Chicago, because it's a city of Chicago ordinance. And the city of Chicago council would actually have to vote and approve adding locations to the ordinance. It's a heavy lift. Every alderman at each location that we'd want to add would have to be approving it. And it just doesn't happen. So you to go into this thinking, oh, I need this to happen in order for me to do this business, the odds are against that happening. It's not impossible. It could happen, but it hasn't happened for a long time.
Okay. All right. And then Tom, the next question is length of lease. Did you want to talk about the examples of the terms?
Oh, sure.
Terms that we
Okay.
give? That's a good question.
Yeah. So the first thing is with new folks that are starting out for the first year, we would tend to give them a 1 year deal with maybe an option for a second year, just to see how it goes. And it's probably good for the new vendor too. You know, if it doesn't turn out the way they were hoping, then they aren't stuck with a long deal. But if it's a project, if it's a business where the proposal is to spend some money to improve a space, things of that nature, where there's some investment in there, there's definitely a relationship between a longer contract and investment into whatever you're doing. So if you propose, let's say, operating at a beach house at I'll just, whatever beach it is, and you take a look at it and you figure you're going to need to put some money into doing some improvements that you would need, that's going to probably qualify you for a longer deal. We will not do anything longer than 5 years. That would be the max. So that is a pretty hard, fast rule. So it does depend on what you're putting into it. So it's a 1 to 5 year thing with investment in the location being a primary factor on the length of the term.
Okay. If you are in Grant Park, what happens during Lollapalooza or other events like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, you'll probably have to cease operations during that time. And obviously, before you sign that deal, that's something that we would go over with you, is the times during the summer where events take over and you wouldn't be allowed to operate during those time periods.
Okay. If denied and you give suggestions on how to make changes, how long after can we reapply, or do you guys give us a chance to make the changes and come back with the suggested changes?
Well, maybe this will answer it. Let's say we've got location A and we have 5 businesses who propose to operate there. We can only pick one. And we make our selection and we recommend it to the park district, and the park district approves it, and that business is going to get that location. That doesn't mean the other 4 businesses aren't worthy of having a location. And if we like you, and think you've got promise, we will probably suggest a couple other locations that you might take a look at to consider. So that is definitely something that we do. If for some reason that doesn't happen, you can apply the next year. We have these applications on an annual basis, and we do see people applying the next year with maybe tweaking their type of business or where they want to go, or one thing or another. So we do get that. So hopefully I answered that question sufficiently for you. So if you're a runner-up for a location, but we like you, we will probably throw a few suggestions your way. And then your application may have a second location, and you prioritize it. Maybe you put 3 locations on there. And if number 2 is available, we think you're a good fit for it, we might suggest, well, how about pivoting to location number 2?
Yep. All right, and then like Tom mentioned, we go through this process each year for the following season around this time. This is the kickoff for the next year's season. So this happens every year. Are convenience stands allowed? Absolutely. Chips, soda, candy, bars, etc. So I would say I'm not sure what you mean with convenience stands, but if it's a cart or kiosk that you're proposing and you want to sell snack items, that is allowed, I would say propose it, depending on the location and what you would like to operate out of. Does the park district have convenience stands that are already in place that you could utilize? No, they do not. There are some beach locations and permanent buildings, and they're listed in the NOA, and we can answer those questions. But yeah, if you want to operate snacks out of a cart, or you have a unit, definitely propose. Can you shed light on the CPD sponsorship? I don't believe that was talked about. And it actually was the person that asked the question. I don't know if you want to quickly mention, Tom, the 3 sponsors again that you talked about.
Okay, we have 3 sponsorships currently. One is with Coca-Cola. So beverages need to go through Coca-Cola. If your business sells hot dogs or Polish sausage, you need to go through Vienna. If you sell ice cream, you need to sell Unilever products, which are purchased and delivered by Joe and Ross distributors.
Thank you. And then the next question, can we have a cart in multiple locations at different times over the season? I think I understand the question, and the answer, I believe, would be no. And then Tom, you can dovetail on if you see the question from a different perspective. I want to make sure people understand that this is not a nomadic program where you move around from location to location. Typically, what we do is you're assigned a location, a park, or a beach, and that's where you operate. So we don't tend to have someone sign an agreement and they have 3 or 4 locations and they move around from location to location. We have had concessionaires that have had more than 1 location and they've operated, but that is, they have agreements for all of those locations. So I guess what I would say is the program is really set up to be assigned a location and for you to operate in that park or location.
Yeah. We tend to stay away from the mobile, or Stephanie used the word I love to use, nomadic vendors, because they tend to go where the best business is. And a lot of times they'll be in a place where the best business is where we already have a stationary vendor operating, and that causes huge problems. So we do what we can to eliminate that scenario. Now, if you are talking about a number of parks within the city that may not have a licensed vendor in it, and you want to be in Park A on Mondays and Tuesdays and Park B on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and that's something that we might be able to do, especially if we don't already have a licensed vendor in that park.
Yep. Okay. The next comment, no, CPD for this webinar is Chicago Park District, not Chicago Police Department, but same acronym. Are there any sponsorships with alcohol manufacturers or distributors? No,
No.
we don't have
No.
any. We're not connected.
Nope.
And yep. And then again, the grant question available. I mean, it would be great, and that's not to say that grants for women in business and different groups won't come up, but this year currently we do not have a grant. We're not affiliated with the grant program as of now. And I think that might have been the last question. Oh no, wait a minute, let's see. How do we know if a park has a licensed vendor already? Or how can we determine which parks are without any licensed vendors? Thomas, you want to take that?
Well, the application will have a page of available locations, which means those locations do not currently have a licensed vendor. They may have had one, but that agreement is over, so that location is available for all people to apply for. We do have locations that have existing operators with existing contracts that are not available. That is not part of the application, so you should call the UCG office and ask about specific locations if that's what you have if you have some in mind.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we got are newly formed businesses eligible? Absolutely. We have a lot of people that come in and have an idea, have a concept. Like Tom mentioned, we want to reiterate, if you are determining whether you're going to buy your equipment from with this concessions deal, I would definitely wait until it's, it's concrete or it's signed before you make huge purchases of equipment. But we do have newly formed businesses that apply. Does the city of Chicago require to see income to determine if we made more than base price expectations? Well, I will say that I think I understand the question. As part of the application process, we do require that you share income information with us. And that is basically just to make sure that you're able to sustain this business and you're able to pay the fees that are required. So as far as the application, as far as you as an individual applying, we do ask for references, personal and financial, and we do ask that you share some income information with us to determine if we made more than base price expectations. I'm not sure about that part. If that question has to do with your pricing, we do ask for menu items. We ask for the price that you charge to the patrons for those menu items. And so we do want to make sure that there's fair pricing based on where you're located to the patrons, that you're not, pricing a product way out of line. And sometimes we might make a suggestion to say that at that location, you could probably price an item, larger, a bit higher. It just really depends. But as far as fair pricing in the city of Chicago, we do look at that when you submit your menu and your price. And then finally, thank you, the kind folks of the Chicago Park District, for answering all our questions. I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much. That was very kind. And I think we have 3 minutes left. I don't know if we have any other questions.
It doesn't look like it. It looked like the questions that were in the chat box, they end up putting them in the Q&A box.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who participated. Thank you to BACP for hosting us for this webinar. Please reach out. Again, the website is parkconcessions.com. you get a lot of information as well as the application and our current notice of availability. The date for the applications, the due date is November 21st. So we're asking people to please submit your application prior to the 21st. The site will not close. You will still be able to submit, but applying by the 21st means your application is on time, and that gives us enough time to go through the process to get you ready for the season. And thank you also to the Chicago Park District that's on today for their support as well.
Stephanie, thank you so much for doing this. Sorry, y'all, my voice is terrible today. I'm under the weather, but thank you. Thank you. This was great.
Okay.
Thank you to Stephanie, Tom, and CJ and the Chicago Park District. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program and would like to receive credit for your attendance today, please log on to www.chicago.gov/BACP certificate. Again, that's www.chicago.gov/BACP certificate. To learn more about our upcoming webinars, please visit us at chicago.gov/business education. This webinar will be available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. And thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.